But Marnus is going to dig into the numbers for us, and then we'll open the floor to questions and answers. And then Sean will throw in a technical bit for us in between. So looking forward to that, Marnus. I'm going to give it straight over to you.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, everyone. Welcome to today's Renergen call. I will take you through a quick macro view of the LNG and helium demand and supply. Risks that should be considered should the ASPI transaction fail or the takeover. Renergen still need quite a bit of successful fundraising, of which one is listing on the New York Stock Exchange. They have a long timeline. We've seen this also, which is created some operational and execution risks, which historically it caused them to delay being profitable. They still have risks of commodity price fluctuations and then also currency risks. And then that covenants that they breached already, the creditors, they've relaxed some of those covenants, but at some point in time, those covenants will need to be met, and repayment of that debt will also take effect. The recommendation is still a sell. The intrinsic value did increase to R10.50 per share. And the main reason for the increase is on the bull case. We've increased the probabilities of that playing out, and that's simply due to the transaction of ASPI looking like it's going to go through. They've already received shareholder approval, but we'll have a look at the expected timeline for the transaction shortly. Just on global helium supply, you can see most of the helium is currently supplied by the United States and also Qatar. Qatar forms a very small blue dot there in the Middle East that I'm not sure everyone can see, but it's quite a small country. And then the others are Algeria, Russia, Australia, Poland, Canada, South Africa. That's the largest ones. And on the demand side, you can see that it's anticipated the global helium market will grow at an annual rate of a compounded annual rate of 7.4%. So that's in the next 4 to 5 years, adding about $2 billion to that market. Then on the LNG supply side, you can also see the United States, Australia, and then Qatar. Those are the three big suppliers, with Russia also being there. Malaysia, Nigeria, and then the others form the grey top part. It's interesting to see that Russia is still considered a supplier here, considering that they are not supplying to their full potential to the EU anymore. You can see you on the demand side there, the green bars, that's your demand side on the EU. That fluctuates quite a bit, and that's historically aligned with colder winters, and then also price, considering which is the cheapest energy alternative. Then other large users are Japan and China and other Asian countries. So if you dive into the ASPI offer, it is an offer to purchase all outstanding Renergen shares. The consideration is as follows: the ratio of shares that will be received for every one Renergen share held is 0.09196 ASPI shares. And as on the 28th of July, that translated to around R16.53 per share. And that's with ASPI trading at $10.10. There was a close on that day, and the dollar exchange rate of 17.80. And then the Renergen shares closed that day at R16 per share. So that gives you about a 3.3% upside that it still has on the offer price. Sorry. So that kind of premium above the current share price is closed down quite a bit, with the deal moving closer to completion or approval. So the offer price should just be considered here. It continues to fluctuate daily. It's a dollar exchange rate movement, and also the movement in the ASPI share price. So fractional shares, for instance, will be paid out in cash. That's any shares that's lower than one, a full share. Just risks of holding Renergen shares here, because you want the premium on the transaction, is ASPI price movements. It moves daily. And also, I've seen it move quite a bit. It is a volatile little stock. It moves. And then the dollar exchange rate is also a large move at the moment with interest rates and the tariffs going on. So those are two big risks. If you are holding the Renergen shares, higher ASPI share will give you a higher Renergen value. And the opposite is also true. And then a weaker rand will give you a higher value on your ASPI share, on your Renergen shares, with a stronger rand giving you a lower price. Two other risks should be considered here is the terms of the deal. ASPI had acquired a stringent bunch of terms, of which some of the terms of creditors extending debt when it should be repaid, and also covenants. And then also there was a few others of listing on the JSE that should just be considered. And then the deal could also be delayed at any point in time with some of the creditors extending time periods and so forth. So just consider this holding the Renergen shares at the moment. That is a risk. In this chart, you would see that this is how Renergen share is tracking the ASPI share. So basically, Renergen share is not moving on its own. It's moving in line with the exchange rate and the ASPI shares. Blue line is your Renergen share, black line your ASPI share. And this is from the date of the deal that was announced. You'd see that the Renergen shares jumped a little bit and then moved kind of in a premium band. That's just because the premium is closed. And then also it's from beginning to mid-June when the share, it looked like the deal would actually take place and happen as it should. So that's the reason that you can see it's tracking exactly the ASPI share price at the moment. I'm going to run through this quite quickly. This is your timeline. I know the 17th and 24th of July has passed already, but I just wanted to include it here. So 17th of July was the last day for shareholders of Renergen shares to approve the scheme of arrangement. It's been approved. 24th of July, that was the last day of opposing shareholders to apply for a court review of the share of the scheme of arrangement. 14th of August, that was your scheme finalization date, and the announcement of the takeover panel's approval, and the application to delist from the JSE that will be submitted by Renergen. So that will take place on the 14th of August. 26th of August was the last day to trade or transfer shares between South African and Australian registered shareholders. 27th of August, trading will be suspended on the JSE and ASX, that's the Australian Stock Exchange. 28th of August, ASPI shares start trading on the JSE. 29th of August, your record date for scheme considerations, and that's also the announcement of the fractional entitlement. So if you hold less than one share or any share that's not a full share, that's the day you should receive or hear the value of that position. 2nd of September, scheme implementation and the issue of the shares and payments to the South African registered participants. So that's the shares that you will receive. 8th of September, issue of shares to US-based CDIs, and then also the Renergen delisting from the JSE, A2X, and ASX. And then the 9th of September, the 9th of September is the payment of fractional entitlements to CDI holders. So that's the fractional shares that you held that you will receive payment for. It's important to note just here that the conditions of all of this is still very dependent on how the deal progresses. It can change, it can continue to be longer. This is just the guidance. And this full circular of these dates can be viewed on Renergen's website or on Sense. It was announced on Sense. Price performance of Renergen over the last few years, you'd see quite a bit of underperformance in the last 3 years. The black line is your benchmark, JSE Capspeaks, and your blue line Renergen. It's jumped from the beginning of the year. It's performed a little bit better. If you look at those percentages year to date, month to date, 3 months, and 6 months, a big portion of it is the jump from the offer price of ASPI. Just to quickly sit on the valuation, intrinsic value is currently R10.50 a share. On the close of R16 per share, that 34% downside. And then the price to book value, it is trading at that lower standard deviation line. It's in terms of the price to book value quite undervalued. But there's a reason for it. The company is not profitable at the moment. The cash flow will only take place into the future. There's still a lot of development that needs to take place. So that's the reason for it. And that is touching on the valuation side of it. That brings me into an end to my side of the presentation. I'll hand over to Sean to take you through the technical analysis.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, you can see the chart there again of Renergen. This is into yesterday's close. The share price is trading far above its 20, its 50-day and 200-day moving averages. So again, the medium and the long-term trends remain bullish. In the short term, the share price has crossed below that short-term support trend line, and it has triggered a change in trend. And I see today it's also continued, it is slightly down 0.7% today. But I believe that the trend will be changing down. We could expect it to retest that previous support level around about the 1420 level. And as you can see there at the bottom, the MACD indicator is trading in overbought territory, but it's still above its trigger line with no clear bearish signals yet. The other shorter-term technical oscillators like the RSI and the stochastic are also a bit overbought, so it's also confirming that. And as Martin just said, now it is trading at a premium where it is now, and hence also our sell recommendation. To me, so much uncertainty around the share, it might be prudent to take profits at these levels. So yeah, that's how I see it. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Marnus. Yeah, it looks like the deal's on, and it looks like you'll be getting 0.9 SPs for every Renergen that you have on the sort of, when is that happening, Marnus? I think the 28th of August, you said, that they start on the JSE.
Yeah, more or less.
So the decision for us as retail investors basically is, do we want to maintain our exposure to Renergen, right? And you've highlighted a couple of the risks. I mean, these guys have got production delays. They've got creditors that have to approve, firstly, the deal, and then secondly, they have to somehow make enough money to pay back these creditors. So I think you could be in the stock for quite some time before you see a proper return. Now, ASPI does nuclear medicine and those type of things, and you'll effectively be getting a very small portion of the Renergen will make up a smallish portion of the bigger company that's NASDAQ listed. So whatever happens to Renergen in the future will obviously influence your ASPI share, but you're not getting pure Renergen. You're not having pure Renergen anymore. So a couple of decisions to make there. As far as selling it now, I mean, the thing is trading just below the offer price if Marnus's calculations is correct. So you may as well sit with it and then get the ASPI share and make a call on selling it later. But now the thing is, it's going into another company, which numbers you have to interpret to see whether, the Renergen, if Renergen fails, what sort of an impact can that have on ASPI? It's a lot of math for me. So I reckon the Renergens that I have, I'll just let them go into the new company and take it from there. I mean, if you firmly believe in Renergen and what they want to do, and we've had a look at Marnus's supply and demand numbers there, there's definitely demand for the products that they're going to deliver. It's only a question of when do they get off the ground and actually pumping this into production. But now having another parent with substantial capital available, I suppose their chances of succeeding is better. I don't know if you guys have any questions in the audience. I'm glad to take it in the chat there. Marnus, what do you think the chance of a different offer is? I mean, so you say it's been approved. So the shareholders have not objected to this. They're saying it's going through, no problem.
Yeah,
I would have expected
only the first step. There's still a competition commission. There's still the creditors. There's still a few hurdles that they will need to jump through. It looks like it's going to go through. you know.
Yeah, so,
Looks
but I
like-
mean, the shareholders don't have a say in this anymore. The shareholders have said it's fine. We'll go with it.
Yeah. Yes.
So there won't be a cash offer later, and that's off the table now. It's now it's the competition commission to approve, and it's the creditors to agree for them to settle debts later. But that's it. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think the reason why there's not really a cash offer, look, I've not looked at ASPI significantly, but they're also not profitable at the moment because they're also in the development phase. That's why they're buying the likes of Renergen. So they don't have the cash to offer, so they don't have a choice but to offer shares in the company. So it's a capital raise for them.
Look, I think when we got into Renergen, we all accepted the fact that we were taking a very risky punt. It was always going to be hinging around them listing on the Nasdaq, getting funding to get the stuff out the ground and into production, and nothing's really changed. It's now just in a different shell. It's got a bit of cash. It's got a better likelihood of succeeding, but it's still very risky. And if you bought Renergen with that in the back of your mind, then I suppose keeping the ASPI is not a bad idea. I mean, you're going to get exposure to a different side of the business, being the nuclear medicine and that, but the Renergen stuff's still going to be there. So I reckon keeping it's just the right thing to do, because and I don't know. I mean, there may be some of you that have bought Renergen for an entirely different reason and have an entirely different reason why you would want to not take up the offer or sell your ASPIs the moment you get them, or sell your Renergens now. And we'd like to hear from you. So please get involved. Let's see what's in the chat there. Willem says, will PSG continue to analyze and have information sessions on ASPI in the future? It's highly unlikely, Willem, because we won't consider ASPI necessarily for our portfolios. Right? We did the Renergen because we have a lot of retail clients that are invested in the stock. We also don't consider Renergen for the house view equity portfolios and that. So it was really a question of covering the stock because we had a lot of clients with a lot of exposure to it. And I don't think we'll be covering ASPI anytime soon. We've got a new research list that I sort of announced last week, and that we'll start working through, and we'll be looking at about 32 local stocks, or 30 odd local stocks, and then another 30 offshore stocks, because I think a lot of people are starting to trade on the offshore markets and diversifying into those markets, and they also need some help in us analyzing the numbers for them there. So I think it's a good thing. I think it'll be good, but I don't think we'll specifically cover something like ASP isotope. See if there are any other questions. Yeah, before I knew that this was a done deal, I created a poll to say, listen, am I going to wait for a cash offer, or am I going to let my Renergens go? You know, so that I can't activate that now. It doesn't make sense anymore. But let's see. I'm going to create a quick poll here. Let me edit it then to say I'm going to take up my ASPIs, or I'm going to exit Renergen before the time. Let's see what the people think. All right. Any other questions in the meantime? Okay, yes. Okay, this is take up, and this is sell Renergen. There we go. All right, it's launched, yeah. It says exit the Renergen or take up ASPI. Let's see what the people say. Six responses. Now, there's quite a couple of people who are saying they'll sell their Renergen, they don't want the ASPI. If any of those guys don't mind, please tell us why you would want to sell the Renergens and not take up the ASPI, because going into the ASPI, it's going to be as tradable as what Renergen is now. You could surely make that call after the deal. I'd like to understand the line of thinking there. If there's anybody that's prepared to share, you can just switch on your mic and talk outright if you want to. Alex says he has no Renergen at the moment. And if there was a big enough gap between the Renergen and the offer, he would have taken some, I guess. Alex, just joking. Right. Doesn't look like a guy. Oh, okay. I sold my Renergen because I know too little about ASPI. I understand, Willem. Willem, we also know little about ASPI. Yeah, true. If you don't understand ASPI, then going into that with your smallish part, which is an Renergen, could add some more risk. But I mean, they are a NASDAQ listed company. They are involved in a sector in which very few companies are involved in, nuclear medicine, lithium 6 and 7. So they've got a couple of interesting products. And they may also be in a space where if they can pull it off over time, that could be something to watch. But you can always get back in, I guess. You don't have to sit around and wait for something to take off. I don't see any other questions, Mona, so I think that pretty much answers it. But I want to thank you. Thank you for doing the math for us there and showing us exactly what will happen. Because I think for the guys who do have Renergen, we get this question often. And the guys say, well, what's going to happen to my shares now? And when is it going to happen and everything? You had it on the screen today. You're going to get 0.9 ASPs. It's going to cease to exist on the 27th of August on the JSE if the deal goes through. On the 28th, you'll wake up and you'll see a different share code in your portfolio, and it'll be ASPI. You'll have less of them, but the price will be higher, so the value will be exactly the same. And if there's a fractional portion, you'll get a cash payment for that. So that's the long and short of the deal. We'll keep our eyes peeled on the SENS announcements to make sure that the deal goes through. And if it doesn't, then we'll update you. But if there are any other questions, feel free to contact us. And if you need us to share that timeline of Manus's thing, if you didn't see the SENS, get into contact with me or Sean, and we'll gladly share that with you. Manus, thanks for that report. Really enjoyed it. Like I say, I love the way you broke it out for us in what's going to happen when. And Sean, thanks for your technical bit as always. We'll be back next week. And I think we're doing Redefine next week.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. All right.
Nee, dit gaan goed met my. Ek is in die middel van die
Waar gaan dit so goed, Johan?
Met Misha en ek is in 'n webinar.
I think Johan got unmuted there unwantingly. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back next Thursday. We'll see you same time, same place. Cheers.